I want to talk about Arrow season 5 and whether or not it can be saved. And obviously, I realize that that's subjective because I'm sure that there are people who still genuinely enjoy the show, but this season in particular has hit many, like it's hit, and I think it's three different series lows as the season has progressed, and it had the lowest ratings of any season finale. So that obviously should be some kind of wake up call to those responsible, because yes, shows do inevitably lose viewers the longer that they go on, but it's only season 4. And when this show was first picked up, the lead actors were signed for 7 seasons, so they'd clearly had intentions of going 7 seasons at least. And so they're just past the halfway point and they're already hitting lows like this. I just, obviously something needs to be done if they intend to carry on, because if this continues, this downward spiral, I don't think they're going to get to season 6. It's just, and a lot of people will try and defend it and they'll say, shows lose viewers, blah blah, and they do. Every season that goes on, generally, shows do lose viewers because in the hiatus between seasons, people will lose interest, people will be more interested in other shows, people will be satisfied with the way a season ended and they'll leave it at that. So there are always less viewers, with a show as it goes on. But like I said, season 4 isn't that far into a show to have ratings that bad, especially when your ratings have hit 3 separate series lows in one season with the lowest season finale at the end. So it's clear that season 4 in particular has been weak. So I want to talk a little bit about how they can kind of maybe pick themselves back up after this. And I mean, it's a little bit rich me saying this because I don't watch the show anymore. And even if the show did some of the things that I'm going to talk about, I'm still not entirely 100% sure that I would watch it again, because I don't have faith in the people who are responsible for this. I don't have faith in their execution skills, because I think a lot of the things that have happened in the show have been very, very promising in theory, but these concepts were never delivered with any kind of strength. So even if they do some of the things I talk about, that doesn't mean they'll do them well. So I'm not going to watch the show unless I see that it has improved and I've seen positive feedback from other viewers who have had similar complaints to mine. I want to talk a bit about the lack of source material. And a lot of, well, I was about to say a lot of Arrow fans, but really, ultimately, I think it's Olicity fans. Olicity fans feel threatened when confronted with anything that comes from the comic books at all, because the main argument against Olicity that I've seen is that it's not a comic book relationship. So whenever anything happens with any relevance to a comic book, Olicity fans panic and they say that it doesn't have to be like the comic books. But yeah, it kind of does. It's a comic book adaptation. And I'm not talking about Olicity here. I'm talking about the whole show. Olicity fans feel threatened by inclusion of comic book canon, but they fail to realize that it doesn't actually have to impact their ship at all. Olicity could still be Olicity with comic book influence. We could have comic book relevant villains for a start. We could have comic book characters that aren't Oliver, because he's the only one, and he's not anything like his comic book counterpart. Before season 4 started, we were promised Green Arrow. We were promised a more accurate adaptation of his personality. They gave him that new suit that was a lot more comic book in appearance. We were promised all these things and they never ever delivered. They said that season 4 was going to be more light-hearted, and it's one of the most, like, it's been really, really like an emotional roller coaster. You can't say that it's supposed to be light-hearted and then do some of the things that they've done this season. Like, I feel like it's gotten to the point where they're saying anything to try and get people back on board. And if it's gotten to that point where you have to say things that you think people want to hear to get them back, you're probably failing. And, like, why would you say things and then not deliver them? It just, it's not even a comic book adaptation anymore. Like, it's literally the only thing is Oliver's name. And I don't get it. I don't get it. If you want, and people say it doesn't have to follow the comic books, and whenever comic book fans say that they're dissatisfied, people jump on their back and they're like, oh, what do you expect? A direct page to screen translation? No, I really don't. Like, I just want some kind of acknowledgement that there is source material. Like The Flash. The Flash does creative liberties very, very well. And, all of the things that The Flash does in terms of changing things from the comics, they are relevant and plot progressive and make sense. For example, the Reverse Flash. Having having the Reverse Flash be in the body of Harrison Wells was very, very good. Because if they'd introduced him as Thorn from the get-go, comic book fans would have known, and it wouldn't have been a plot twist. Everyone would have known that he was Reverse Flash the whole time. But instead, having Eddie Thorne be Joe's partner, that was kind of I personally was thinking, is that just a reference, or is he involved? And it kept comic book fans on their toes and didn't give anything away. And that worked very well, in my opinion. And having Wally be Iris's estranged brother instead of her nephew, that was good as well, because it made him relevant and it allowed him to be older than he was when he was first introduced. It gives him more substance for a relationship with Barry early on. So, there are things that the Flash does that are very different to the comic books, but they make sense and they work. And so I don't understand why Arrow can't do the same. So when people are like, oh, it doesn't have to be like the comic books, it doesn't have to, there has to be some kind of relevance, there has to be some kind of acknowledgement that there is source material and there are people who are fans of it. And, The Flash isn't perfect. I'm not going to sit here and say that it is, but it is leaps and bounds ahead of Arrow. And it's like Flash does it without even trying. If you think about just the series finale, the last few episodes this season, I mean, The Flash gave us, Cisco using his, vibe blast thing for the first time. Cisco seeing the future, the possible decimation of Earth 2, the Flashpoint paradox, Wally finding out that Barry is the Flash, Iris and Barry developing some kind of agreement in their relationship. So much happened, but it was all just as plot relevant and it developed multiple characters. And then you look at Arrow and it's like, okay, Oliver had a really cheesy fucking fight with Damien Dark where Damien inexplicably lost his powers. Felicity took up a load of screen time unnecessarily, and then everyone fucked off except Olicity. And then the writers went one step further and had Felicity say, oh, you thought I was going somewhere? Just as a extra fuck you to everyone who can't stand her. So now that she is all that's left. And I think that that was a very poor way to end season 4, because the ratings have dropped significantly, and a lot of the complaints I've seen have been to do with the fact Felicity has too much screen time. She's taking away from every other character, including Oliver. Like, and the fact that a lot of people have given up on the show because they feel that it's no longer a Green Arrow show because Green Arrow doesn't do anything. The people who have given up on the show because they're sick of seeing this romance melodrama that excludes all other characters and plots. Like, I've seen a lot of people have already left the show for those reasons. Not just those reasons, there's a lot of reasons why I left the show, but that was a contributing factor. So the fact that the show has hit 3 series lows and the lowest season finale, because of the Olicity drama, or at least partially, and then you end the season on just Olicity. And like I said, a lot of shows lose viewers between seasons. People give up, people get bored, people don't have time, people like the way it ended. So inevitably, there are less viewers starting a new season. So finishing on a season low and then ending it and having nothing for people to look forward to except the thing that drove people away, you're setting yourself up for a fail in season 5 already. The only thing that's kind of kept people going, I've seen a lot of people say, I'm in it for Diggle, I'm in it for Thea, I'm going to stick it out to the end, I'm going to see if they fix it, I might as well watch the end of this season. Nobody that I've seen is writing about how excited they are. No one is like, oh, I can't wait for the season finale, I can't wait for season 5, it's going to be so good. No, everyone is like, I'm going to stick to the end of season 5 to see how they wrap it up. I'm going to stick to the end of season 5 because I love Diggle, I love Thea. Like, people are looking for reasons to finish watching your season, and then you give them nothing to come back for because you've gotten rid of everything that they actually liked. The one thing that I am curious about in season 5 is what Laurel told Oliver before she died, because they said that they wouldn't reveal that until season 5. But is that worth watching it for? No, I'll just wait and then I'll read spoilers. I don't care. I don't care enough to watch it. And there is a part of me that thinks that it could still be Laurel being alive. I mean, I made that video about that rumor of her appearing in the finale, and obviously the rumor was false, but everything that I said in that video could still apply because I was talking about the rumor of her being alive, not simply her appearance in the finale as it was rumored. So I maintain everything I said in that video, and it could still happen, but I doubt it. I mean, I don't know what else that she could have told Oliver, because, I mean, her dad's fucked off now, so it couldn't be keep my dad safe, because that wouldn't be relevant next season. So, I don't know, whatever. And it's not just the fans who've noticed the decline. I mean, the actor that played Deathstroke, I don't know how to pronounce his name, and I'm not going to try because I don't want to butcher it, but everyone knows who I'm talking about. He was epic as Slade. Okay, he did a really good job, and he actually, when Deathstroke made that brief appearance in season 3, where Thea and Oliver went to Lian Yu, and he'd broken out of that prison and they fought him, the actor who played Deathstroke complained about the writing for that episode because he said he thought that it was weak, that it didn't uphold who Deathstroke was. Deathstroke in the comic books he's a threat. He's a real, genuine threat. He's he's one of the most well-known DC villains. And he was the main villain of Arrow Season 2. It took them all season to take him down. And then he comes back in one episode in Season 3, and he's taken down by Oliver and Thea within the episode. And, the actor said that he wasn't happy with that. That's not that's not Slade. It's disrespectful to the character. It completely just crosses out and negates everything that happened in the previous season. Like it makes if he posed such a huge threat in season 2, why would you bring him back for one episode in season 3 and have him be like a fucking wet blanket? You know, the actor genuinely complained. He said that it didn't make sense. And actually, on Twitter, a lot of people have been posting tweets saying that, you know, he was a very amazing Deathstroke and they really hoped that he never returns to Arrow because they wouldn't want his performance to be tarnished and that Arrow has fallen from grace. And he retweeted them all. I'm gonna see if I can find screen captures and I'll put them in this video. Like, he retweeted them. And there was even one where someone had taken a screen capture from the scene where he stabs Moira. And they'd edited like Felicity and Felicity's mum's face on Thea and Moira. And then they'd put Mark Guggenheim's face on Oliver and was asking him to choose who to kill. And the Deathstroke actor retweeted it. Like, it's not just the fans that have noticed. These people know. And, I mean, ugh. And even Stephen. I mean, I'm not really a huge fan of Stephen Amell. I mean, I'm not... to be honest, I don't really have an opinion on Stephen Amell. I think that he's a good actor. I think that he does well as Oliver, but the thing is, I think that the show has deteriorated in quality, and at this point, he's doing the best he can with what he has to work with. And I think that as someone, the thing about Stephen that annoys me is that I understand he's proud of his project and proud of his work, but he has said things that just don't make sense. He's a bit cocky. Like, I respect that Stephen Amell is very proud of the project, and he was probably very excited initially about being Green Arrow, which is fair enough, and I completely accept and respect that, and I think it's good that actors can be excited about the roles that they play, but Stephen has been kind of defensive and cocky about it in the past. Like, he tweeted saying that his Oliver could beat up Batman. No. And, like, someone actually tweeted back to him and said, there is no known universe where Green Arrow could beat up Batman. Learn what character you're playing. And I did laugh for, like, a solid minute, but, like, what I'm saying is, Stephen has previously defended the show. And I accept that. I mean, he's the star. Why wouldn't he defend the show? Why wouldn't he defend his Green Arrow? And this leads me to my next point, is that, you know, as someone who has previously gone out of their way on social media to defend the show, like in 416, that Cupid episode that was like 90% Olicity bullshit, and it had low ratings, and people were complaining. And Stephen put, I think it was on Facebook, it might have been Twitter, he said, geez, you make one episode about a romance and people lose their minds. So he knew, like, he was aware of the reaction to that episode and he defended it. He was making passive-aggressive comments on social media. He defended the show, which is fair enough. And that leads me to this next point. After the finale, someone tweeted to Stephen Amell, no, Facebook. They Facebooked Stephen Amell and they said to him, you know, something along the lines of, do you have any idea if you're going to be a regular on Felicity and Friends next season? And Stephen replied and said, not sure. Like, he might have been joking. He probably was. He was probably joking. But that's not my point. My point is that Stephen is someone who has defended the show in the past. He has made passive-aggressive comments, and he has goaded people, and he has defended the show previously. So why now did he not defend the show? Why did he acknowledge that comment with a response and not defend it? He could have ignored that comment. I mean, I'm sure that he gets hundreds of comments that he ignores every day. And he could have defended the show like he has done previously. And no one would be surprised if he had, because he's been known to do that. But he didn't do either of those things. He not only acknowledged that comment, but he replied to it in a way that could have been taken seriously, because all he did was say, not sure. So he's clearly aware that people think he's being overshadowed by Felicity. He's aware that that's what's happening, and he's not defending it. He's not disagreeing. He's even kind of acknowledging it. Even if he is joking, even if it's sarcastic, he's still acknowledging it in a way that implies he's agreeing with what was said. So, for Stephen to be aware of what's happening, and for the actor who plays Deathstroke to be aware of what's happening, and for both of them to have acknowledged it on social media, that is telling me that it's certainly not just the fans who are feeling this. And, the show is on a downward slope. And, I've seen Olicity fans say, Laurel fans like to say that the ratings drop is because of Laurel's death, but the ratings were going down before she died. And actually that I do agree with, because this season has been dismal. It's been very poor, and the ratings were going down before Laurel died. People were losing interest before Laurel died. But I do think that it is worth acknowledging that a lot of people did stop watching the show after Laurel died. And I don't think it was just because of her death. I think to a lot of people, her death was just a final straw. It was the final nail in the coffin, because the show had done so many things wrong, so in such a short space of time. They just kept making mistake after mistake, and when Black Canary died, people were like, you know what, why am I even watching this? And they walked away. I don't think it was... I'm sure that there are people out there that did it purely because of Black Canary, but I don't think that the majority of people felt that way. I certainly didn't. I stopped watching it at 4:17, but I had many reasons. It was the lackluster pacing, the storylines that just didn't add up or didn't make sense or took forever, the storylines that took up way too much time but never developed any of the characters. It was the poor execution, the lack of source material, the overpowered villain that didn't make sense, all of the promises of a light-hearted Green Arrow that was never delivered, all of the Felicity screen time that was pushing out every other character so that no one got a word in edgeways that didn't revolve around her. The fact that Oliver was doing jack shit for the last half of the season. All of that just made me not want to watch the show anymore. And then when they killed Black Canary, I was like, this is just going from bad to worse. And the thing about Felicity, I know that she's kind of become a controversial character because people either love her or hate her. And I actually wrote a massive rant on my Tumblr about Felicity. And do you know what? I'm just going to read it because I think that's going to be just simpler. So, yeah. Okay. The post is, if I'm being perfectly honest here, the idea of Felicity is a good one. And what I mean by that is a supporting character who aids the team indirectly as a civilian that the audience can identify with, because she's somewhat removed from the actual crime fighting, but she's close enough to see its effects. A character like that would have a neutral opinion. She wouldn't necessarily agree with Oliver's motives or methods, but she would empathize with his cause in a way that no bystander could. She would defend him against those who tried to stop him, even though she wouldn't want to be on the front line either. And that is exactly what Felicity was at first. She told Oliver and Diggle that she wasn't comfortable with the killing and the violence, and then she realized that they were doing some good, and she acted as a messenger between the vigilantes and the police force, and Quentin. Because she was a neutral party who understood both arguments, she was able to do that successfully. Her character made a lot of sense in season 1, and no one objected to her at all, as far as I'm aware. A good original character is one that fits into the established work of the fiction, who has their own compelling history and personality, who contributes to the progression of the plot and stands alone as their own definitive character, who is separated from every other character within the fiction and therefore necessary without overshadowing any of the leads. If you think of John Blake in the Nolan Batman movies, because of the worlds that Christopher Nolan established and the rendition of the Batman character that he created, it was pretty much impossible for them to add any of the Robins, because it just didn't make sense within what had already been set. So as an alternative, they made a police officer who had certain personality traits and attributes of the different Robins, and they made him an aspiring detective who became almost like a protege to Gordon at some points throughout the film. People have differing opinions on the Nolan movies and Blake's character, and I know that it's not a very accurate rendition of the Batman mythos at all, but they didn't introduce Blake until the final movie, and he didn't step on any of the toes of any existing character while he was there, and he aided the narrative. Felicity was very much the same in the first season. She made sense. Her being there wasn't detrimental to the development of other characters. She had her own beliefs and her moral stance and neutral opinion that set her apart from any other character on the show. She was also somewhat of a comic relief character because she was awkward and made quips or sarcastic comments. She had her own motivation for joining the team, finding Walter, which just so happens to coincide with Oliver's crusade, which is how alliances are formed. That is organic storytelling. But now, because of Felicity has been written, she's awful. Her moral stance fluctuates with her fucking mood, and as someone who told them point blank at the beginning that she wanted no part in something that would make her an accessory to murder, she now is telling Oliver to kill people whenever she deems it appropriate, therefore erasing who her character was at the beginning, and by ignoring their own canon this way, the writers have made Felicity into this diabolical OC. Felicity is now named after a comic book character, is a computer hacker who was in a wheelchair for 3 episodes, making her an ableist, insulting, discount version of Oracle. She's the CEO of Palmer Tech, because they just shoved Ray Palmer onto another TV show and gave his company to Felicity, even though she has literally no business experience. She's using Curtis's technology, not only the mass production of the microchip, but in the promo shots, she's holding the T-Sphere, so she's once again taking away from a black, openly gay comic book character in Mr. Terrific. She's Oliver's main love interest, to the point where they went so far as to kill off Black Canary. She's always considered to be Oliver's light and the most important thing ever, therefore outshining and completely ignoring all of Oliver's prior relationships, including the one with his sister, that was once his driving force in everything he did. She has an original backstory that revolves entirely around her relationship to a man, and it is no way as dynamic as it could have been, because the whole thing was just lazy and boring and predictable. She treats her mother like shit and is ashamed of her whenever she's around, even though her mother is a strong role model who worked hard and relentlessly to single-handedly get Felicity into good schools. Felicity treats Oliver like shit for things he can't control, to the point where if he so much as breathes without her explicit approval, she loses her shit. Comic book villains who are meant to be merciless and terrifying, like Slade and Ra's al Ghul, have both randomly given her compliments and spared her life for no reason. There are references to her made in every single TV show that exists in the same universe, to the point where she even took away from Cisco Ramon because Barry and Caitlin, who are supposed to be Cisco's friends, couldn't help but point out how Felicity is better than him. Her jokes are now offensive and inappropriate and insensitive, by quipping about the death of others and jokingly referring to things that have traumatized her boyfriend, like asking Oliver if it was Fantasy Island because there happened to be 2 women there with him. This show treats female characters quite badly enough. We don't need female characters pitting themselves against each other and making petty remarks and getting jealous over others. Not to mention that Oliver has stated on multiple occasions that he has nightmares about it and he hates talking about it and it was the worst time of his life, but Felicity's just like, lol, Fantasy Island, I bet you had an orgy on the beach. She disrespected Oliver's own mother at her funeral and called her diabolical, and people defend that because Oliver didn't hear it. What the fuck is wrong with you? She said it to Diggle, and Diggle is Oliver's best friend. Chances are Diggle could have said something. He either could have corrected Felicity and told her that it was disrespectful, or he could have mentioned it to Oliver and had Oliver address Felicity. But neither of those things happened because the writers like to make Felicity completely exempt from criticism, even when she's completely in the wrong. So, yeah. I have no problem with Felicity being there, but if she's going to be there, treat everybody fairly. Treat all of the characters fairly, because all of that shit is just... And Felicity has never developed. She is no different now than what she was. Like, her personality has changed. She's a fucking bitch now. But what I mean is, she's not grown or evolved or learnt anything in 4 seasons. I mean, Oliver has gone through progressive growth. Thea has gone through a lot of growth. At the start of the series, Thea was a bitter, damaged teenage girl who was looking for any outlet to ignore her feelings. And now, you know, she's strong and she's capable and she's gone through a lot of shit, but she's learnt from it. She's a hero now, and she recognizes that some of the things her brother did were necessary. You know, she's grown up and matured. You know, and Oliver, he was a traumatized guy who thought that he had to do everything alone, and now he's gotten better, and he has this team of people that support him, and he knows better now what is good and what is bad, and he's fighting to save lives, not just fighting for vengeance. There is a growth there, and Felicity doesn't have that. She doesn't have any growth. She doesn't learn from her mistakes because no one ever holds her accountable for her mistakes, which pisses me off. Because if you're going to have her there, I think that she has too much screen time anyway. She shouldn't be taking away from the leading man. That's ridiculous. But if you're going to have her there, treat her like you treat the rest of them. Have her develop. I mean, she was in that wheelchair and nothing changed. Like, we didn't see her struggle. Not really. She complained that she couldn't walk down the aisle. That's not struggling. It was really poorly executed. It only lasted like 3 episodes, and afterwards, you know, she broke up with Oliver, and she got up and she walked away. And in the very next episode, when they're talking about her breakup with Oliver, Laurel, Diggle, and Thea were all there, and not one of them ever made even a throwaway comment about the fact that Felicity was suddenly walking. They made everything about her breakup with Oliver and how devastating it must be. They didn't even talk about the fact that she wasn't in a wheelchair anymore. Oh my god. It was like it didn't happen. In the very next episode, it was the most ridiculous thing. And I don't like Felicity, but I actually feel bad for her in that circumstance because they made everything about her relationship to Oliver as if she didn't stand alone. I mean, I would probably like Felicity if she was treated like an individual character instead of made into Oliver's light and Oliver's girlfriend and the love of Oliver's life, and everything is about Oliver and Felicity, and it makes Felicity bitchy and one-dimensional. It makes Oliver a wet blanket and gives him no screen time. That relationship is ruining both characters, and it's ruining the show because it dominates every episode. And the only people who are happy about it are like the hardcore Olicity fans that don't care about anything else. Like, the thing is, these Olicity fans have said that they'd leave the show if Olicity wasn't a thing. Yet, everyone else is leaving the show because all it is Olicity. There's nothing else there. So these Olicity fans, they don't care about Oliver. They don't care about Oliver as a character, and I doubt most of them even care about Felicity as an individual character. They don't care about the show, and I think it's ridiculous that they're trying to find excuses for the fact that the show has fallen from grace. So ultimately, what Season 5 needs to do, in my opinion, is have Oliver do some shit by himself. Distance him from Felicity in a way that is legitimate. Like, you can say, oh, they're not together anymore. That's not the same thing. Just because they're not together, that doesn't mean that she's not always fucking there. Like, you need Oliver to find his own strength and be a hero for himself, because it's ridiculous that they try and make out that you need a romantic partner to validate you. It's stupid. He's supposed to be the hero, so let him be a hero. Let him save lives. Let him do the Green Arrow thing. Let him fight for the small man. Let him go out there and take on, low-grade thugs for the sake of saving lives. Let him do the Green Arrow shit. Let him be a hero by himself. Another thing that needs to happen is source material. I don't even care how you incorporate it, just acknowledge that it exists. Read a comic book, chill the fuck out, do something. Another thing that needs to happen, comic book characters. There needs to be more than one. Oliver is the only one, and he's not even a really accurately done one, so there needs to be another comic book character. And I don't care who it is, I just think that there needs to be another Green Arrow character that has a source material comic book relationship with Oliver that can be built on. I think that would really help develop Oliver. I think that it would give him a sense of purpose outside of his hero stuff. I think it would make him a lot more human, give him a bit of emotion, because he's kind of been a cardboard cutout. I think that would be really good if they could pull it off. I think that, even Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith is an incredible, influential person. He created Mia, and he was very influential and pivotal in the Green Arrow Volume 3 comic books. And he directed an episode of The Flash, and he liked a tweet on Twitter. He thought, it was a little bit unclear, but he'd liked a tweet that he thought was in reference to a comic book villain that he has created, and also referenced the movie Seven. And it was a joke about killing Felicity, but that wasn't what he was responding to. He was responding to the fact that someone had, in some way, acknowledged having his comic book villain appear on Arrow, and so he'd liked the tweet. And all of a sudden, all these Felicity fans were raining down on him, saying that he was a misogynist, and that he hated women, and that he couldn't come anywhere near Arrow. And Kevin Smith had to defend himself on multiple occasions, had to say that he liked Felicity, that he wasn't a misogynist, that he didn't agree with anyone. People attacked him and were saying, keep him away from Arrow, keep him away from Arrow. And in the end, he said, you know what, I'm just going to go see if I can do that storyline on The Flash. Because the people at The Flash respect him. These Felicity fans are driving away anyone that has any actual interest in Green Arrow. And Kevin Smith could be a saving grace if you just gave him he would certainly be better than fucking Guggenheim. And I feel like this show is oblivious to what the fans want. It's oblivious to what works. I feel like Mark Guggenheim is very stubborn. He's like the kind of person, I get like this sometimes, where I'm so sure that I'm right, that even when I'm proven wrong, even when I'm genuinely proven wrong and I'm setting myself up to fail, I will take it as far as I can to try and prove someone else wrong. He's like that. He is that stubborn person that just can't acknowledge that he's failing and doesn't want to be a failure, so he keeps pushing and he's just beating a dead horse. And he's just too proud to take a step back and say, I fucked up, I shit over this. And it's a nightmare. It's a genuine nightmare. And the fact that they are so convinced that Olicity is their key selling point, to the point where they ended the entire season on having just Olicity left, is really a testament to how little they know. Because Olicity is what has driven most people away, and now it is all that's left, and you're trying to encourage people to come back next season. For what? What am I supposed to be watching? What have you given me? I mean, the Flash season finale, it was not only like a cliffhanger, but that one singular event has the potential to alter absolutely everything that has happened so far in the series. I don't know what's going to happen next season. I don't know. I mean, it's going to turn everything on its head. And I'm so fucking excited. And what did Arrow leave me with? Olicity in the Arrow Cave together, just the two of them. With no ongoing mission, no pivotal turning points, no dire decisions, no supporting characters, nothing. There's nothing. That could have been the end of the show, and that would have been it. We've had 2 consecutive seasons of Olicity ending up together in the end. It's like they don't have a plan. It's like they literally don't have a plan. And every season they're like, oh, we'll end it with Oliver and Felicity together because why the fuck not? Like, I don't get it. Like, I can't rationalize to myself how you make these decisions. Because even if you wanted Oliver and Felicity to end up together in the end, even if that was your end game, fair enough. But ending a season with nothing else, no ongoing plot, no height, no ultimate climax of the episode, no supporting characters to fall back on. They've not set up for a season 5. They haven't given us anything with any substance that we can latch onto. The only thing that they've left unresolved is what Laurel said to Oliver before she died. That is it. That is the only thing that season 5 has to offer us. And is that worth watching this shit show for? I honestly don't think that it is at this point. And that leads me back to the prior video I did. I'll probably link it in the description, where I was talking about that rumor that went around that Black Canary would be in the finale because there was a photo leaked. Obviously that turned out to be bullshit, but in the video I spoke in length about reasons she could be dead versus reasons why she could be alive. And all of those things are still true, because they didn't directly reference the finale. They were just a general, so far this season overview, things that could happen. So I still maintain everything I said in that video, and it's very possible that that is the twist. But if that was the twist, then they really should have done that in the finale, because it would have given some people something to look forward to. But they haven't done that, and so I don't even think that season 5 can be saved. Can season 5 be saved when you've not set it up yet? Like, what are we looking forward to? And the fact that Supergirl is now on the CW kind of fucking terrifies me. Because they're gonna bring in Supergirl, and there are actually people, oh god, there are people on social media saying that Supergirl is a knockoff of Felicity, and that she's based on Felicity. I'm actually, for fuck's sake, oh god, they're gonna bring in Supergirl, and her and Felicity are either gonna be bestest friends, or they're gonna talk about how Felicity is better than her. Oh, fuck's sake. Oh. And that poll, oh my god. There was a poll. Who would win, Wonder Woman or Felicity Smoak? Oh my god, Felicity was winning. Oh my... Oh. Felicity was winning. Oh my god. I want Wonder Woman to fucking punch her in the face. Jesus Christ. Oh, this is a nightmare. Yeah. Alright then. We're all doomed.